Hey everyone. So I've had a couple of people ask me, given my general outspokenness, why haven't I weighed in on the current heated debate surrounding Second Amendment issues, gun control, or however you choose to refer to it? Don't you, Don, have an opinion? Of course I do. But here's what I also know to be true. Nothing I say, nothing anyone says, no matter how compelling the case made on either side of the argument, will likely change the mind or position of anyone with an opposing view. In fact, research suggests it will only serve to strengthen the position one has already. This is a phenomenon known as confirmation bias. So what I really want to do in the next few minutes is tell you what confirmation bias is and why it happens. Confirmation bias, you see, refers to our tendency to gather and retain information that confirms our existing view, and to downplay or outright reject information that disconfirms our pre-existing belief. A seminal experimental study conducted by Charles Lord, Lee Ross, and Mark Lepper in 1979 showed we tend to process data in a biased manner because of the confirmatory bias effect. This particular study examined people's attitudes about the death penalty. It examined how people react to data that supported and data that disputed their pre-existing point of view on the issue. These scholars intentionally chose a contentious issue, one where the individuals held strong and long-held beliefs, about 50% for and about 50% against. The study presented these people with disparate views on the death penalty, identical bodies of empirical evidence in the form of two research studies, meaning everybody saw the same data presented the same way. One study showed that there was a deterrent effect from the death penalty, meaning it deters other criminals from committing a similar crime, while the other study showed evidence disconfirming that belief, meaning it showed that there was no evidence of deterrence. So what did the researchers find? Well, first, they asked each individual to rate the quality of the empirical evidence, the quality of the studies about the death penalty. And they found that people tended to rate the study that confirmed their pre-existing beliefs to be much more convincing than the study that was disconfirming. They also measured each group's attitudes pre-study and post-study. They were interested to see that when presented a balanced set of data, both sides of the argument, if you will, do you bring the groups closer together in terms of their attitudes, or do you further separate or polarize them? Well, they actually found that the groups became more polarized. In other words, the individuals became stronger in their pre-existing beliefs when presented the same bodies of evidence, both pro and con. See, individuals tended to find evidence more persuasive and more credible that confirmed their pre-existing beliefs, and tended to discount the evidence that was in conflict with those pre-existing beliefs. No doubt, we as humans like for our beliefs to be confirmed. We don't like them challenged, and worst of all, we don't want them proven incorrect. You know, I'm not going to go into the psychology of this subject. If you want to learn more about it, I'd suggest you look up the article, How Mental Systems Behave, or How Mental Systems Believe by Daniel Gilbert. You can Google and download the PDF free of charge. But I will say this, it's harder, i.e. it requires more mental energy to disbelieve something than it does to simply believe it. The reason's simple. You've got to process data that's contradictory. The mind kind of creates a mental shortcut. So information that is confirmatory passes almost without thought because it's supportive of a belief. Information, however, that's contradictory tends to get filtered. We just don't want to deal with it right now, especially if your mind is otherwise preoccupied. And there have been numerous studies conducted that show our minds are less critical of exaggerations that are inherently confirming of our beliefs, especially when we're tired, like after a long day of work, or distracted, like when we're getting the kids ready for school in the mornings. So keep that in mind when you're listening to your favorite source of opinion-oriented news. Lastly, this has nothing to do with an individual's intelligence. We are all subject to this form of cognitive bias. Heck, I've studied heuristic biases for years. I'm well aware they exist, and I fall into their trap from time to time. You've heard me say before, don't be spoon-fed your opinions by any one particular news source. They all have an agenda, and regardless of what they tout, they are all biased to some degree. It's how they get their advertising revenue. So what I would challenge you to do is, first, have a great week, but second, think critically about anything that you see or hear. Don't be spoon-fed. Thank you.